Hello, everyone. Today's interview is with Bob Frey. And Bob, you're a Yonkers boy, right?
Born and raised in Yonkers. When I was first born, I lived on Tibbetts Road, which was off McLean Avenue, backed up to Tibbetts Park. And I used to, as a little boy, go there and play all the time in the park. And then when we were 7, we moved up to the north end of Yonkers and went to school 16, Emerson, Gorton, and North Yonkers was a great place to grow up. The north end was nice because I could just walk 2 blocks to the stores. I used to go to pick up the paper and see who hit home runs that day in the summer. And one of the things I remember at school 16, by the way, which involves you, is in the 4th grade, going to our teacher, Miss Oles, was getting married, invited older students to go to the ceremony if they could. And I remember me and my mom meeting up with you and your mom and driving over there together. And we were sitting in the church and with all of her family and friends, I guess. I always remember when she walked in to the church, she looked over, she's standing there in her white gown, and she looked around and saw us there, her students, and all of a sudden this big smile formed on her face. You can see that she was just really happy, and made her feel so good to have her students involved in her wedding.
That's a beautiful memory for both of us.
Yeah.
So now you're in middle school and you're in high school, and sort of what do you think, how do you feel about that period of time?
That wasn't the best time for me, actually, because I was very uncomfortable, maybe in my own skin. I had very low self-esteem and didn't fit into any group, or I just felt on the outside looking in. And my saving grace was in the 7th grade, I first met Brad Coughlin, who's deceased now, great friend. And through him, Andy Ricciardi, and we became friends and good friends. And then in 8th grade, continued this friendship, and I could talk to them, and they accepted me, and they helped build my self-confidence. And then I went to Emerson, unfortunately, and they were at Gorton. But then in 10th grade, we were back together, and all through high school, thank God for Brad and Andy. They helped me so much just to get through high school, just with their friends.
Yeah. Really nice. And you mentioned 10th grade. Did you do anything in your English class in 10th grade that made a difference?
As a matter of fact, Neil, that was the one thing I really remember was in 10th grade reading Charles Dickens. And I fell in love with Charles Dickens, and I loved his books. In 10th grade, the 2 books that really stood out for me were Great Expectations. In 10th grade, that just blew me away, and A Tale of Two Cities, a wonderful book. And then as it turns out, around 11 years ago, I think it was 2010, I had surgery, triple bypass surgery. And that summer I was on the mend and had to stay in bed and lay down. And so I was reading a lot of books. I've always read a lot of books. And I said, let me go back and read Dickens. I wonder if I'll still be able to relate to him. And I read Great Expectations first, which was my favorite in high school. And I still enjoyed it a lot. And then I picked up A Tale of Two Cities, and it just blew me away. There were pages in there, sections in there where after I read them, Neil, I had to put the book down for a second, and I said, wow, they just blew me away. I mean, just the words of Dickens were just fantastic.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I recently, around a year ago, read an article by someone in the local Richfield press, a teacher saying, I don't know if kids can relate to Dickens anymore, if we should still put that in the classroom. I hope they can, and I hope they have that opportunity.
Now, there's a real dividing point in your life, pre-Georgianne and post-Georgianne.
Yes.
How would you define who you were as this single person and who you became as this person first dating and then marrying the woman you're still married to.
Yeah. Well, when I was single, single person before I had my son and met Georgianne, I was more irresponsible. I didn't take responsibility on. I lived day to day, and I always had a decent job, but I just go out at night to the bars with my friends and hang out with them and shoot pool. That was my life, to go and see them, drink with them, and hang out with them and shoot. I was a very good pool player. I'd shoot pool all the time, and that was it. That was my life then.
And then what happened?
Then I had my son, and it was changed my life. All of a sudden, I had this responsibility, this love that was so great, which I'd never fully felt anything like it before, and I knew that I had to be responsible towards him. Me and it was an old girlfriend got together, and a month later she called me, said, "I'm having your baby, and I'm gonna have it." And when I first went, "Uh-oh, wow, what?" And then turned into the greatest thing in my life. And when he was 3 months old, I went for a visitation and got visitation 3 days a week. And those 3 days I rushed. That's where I became a teacher. So I could get out of that led me to become a teacher. I was in the business world. And
Before we go further, when he was very young, you started dating Georgianne.
Yeah, when he was a year old, I met Georgianne, and we met. We went out. The next day was Martin Luther King's birthday. We went out and had lunch together and saw a movie. And I said to her, I had a great time with that. And I said, "I'd like to get together again." She said, "So would she." I said, "Well, this Saturday, I'd like you to come over and meet my son, who's a year old, but he's this huge part, the biggest part of my life." So right away, I wanted her to meet him and see if otherwise things could never work if they didn't.
And did she like him at all?
She came in. She was when she retired, she had taught 38 years in Danbury, second and third grade, and some first grade. She loved him from the minute she met him. She loved him, and he was the child that she had always wanted, and she just gave him so much love, and he loved her back. And I saw this connection they had, and I was like, how fortunate is this?
You're talking about her teaching. You then became a teacher, and you taught for 22 years.
Yes.
In the 22 years, I know you taught high school seniors.
Yes.
What was it like teaching seniors, and did you like it? And was there any assignment that you might have given them to help them as they left high school?
Yes, I love teaching. It was the job of my life, the joy of my life when it comes to employment. In the business world, I enjoyed everything I've done, but teaching, just being with these young people, helping to mold them and teach them, it just gave me so much. For homework assignments, for example, these were seniors in Yonkers getting ready to go on into the college and the real world after high school. So the only homework I ever gave them, other than studying for a test, was every week on Tuesday, I explained something going on in the news, some controversial opinion, and they had to write a 2-page essay on it, defending their view.
And then this way they were sort of prepared to go off and have ideas and thoughts of their own.
Exactly. It made them think.
You gave them a really great start.
Yeah, and when they were in college, the professor brings it up. I wanted them not to just sit there quietly. I wanted them to raise their hand and think about how they wrote 2 pages on this and give their opinion and know.
And you've been retired now for 5 years.
Yes, almost 6.
Or 6 years, actually.
6 years, yeah.
And you sort of found it easy to be retired, or was it hard at first and then easy? And where do you live that helps you?
Yeah. Well, it was hard at first. When September came around after I retired, so many of my friends were teachers. They're all going back to school, and I was at home. But I quickly made the adjustment. I live in the woods. I just have an acre and a half, but I'm surrounded by a 46-acre nature preserve on 3 sides. So I'm pretty deeply in the woods here. And I got into nature, into gardening and landscaping. I'm a part of what they call the pollinator pathway. I have these huge native pollinator gardens.
So
in my house.
you've built some stuff as well?
Well, I
as
built
part of it?
pergolas. I have walkway pergolas, a big long pergola coming off my house, and
It sort of
a
reminds
raised
me.
pergola.
It reminds me of when you started off in Tibbetts and you go to the park and now you have a park in you
Yes.
made it so you have your own park. Let me
Yeah,
ask one final question, Bob.
sure.
If you could go to a dinner with any 3 people, who might they be and why?
Yeah, you know who I'd probably pick would be Brad and Andy, and maybe another old friend of mine from Tarrytown that passed away, Bobby Dorman. But just to get together again with Brad and Andy and just relive some of those old times that changed my life and helped me to start on the road to success, which was a long road for me. It took me a while, but they helped me to feel good about myself and give me a self-image. And I needed them for that. They were there.
I want you to know something, Bob. This has been a great period. Thank you so much for doing this. I can't wait to see you at the reunion. And because we don't live so far away, maybe after this pandemic, we'll be able to see each other in real life.
We'll have lunch and you can come and see my gardens. And
sounds like a beautiful plan. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Neil.